Joseph W. Shuster was born in Altoona, Pennsylvania on September 2nd, 1942, to William C. Shuster, who was born in 1912 and died 4 years after Joseph sometime in 1970. His mother was Elizabeth R. Shuster, who was born in 1915, and she passed away in 2002. He had four siblings named William, Jane, Carla, and Mary. I couldn't find any connection between ancestry and Find the Grave. I don't know. Well, I know his father passed away, but they didn't connect any Williams on Find the Grave to him, so I don't have a way of checking it. There was one tree that had his name on it, but I'm not sure if that's the same Joseph, because you go on Ancestry and you'll find 50 million Josephs that may or may not be the right one. And the only one I found is on private, and you have to contact them if they're on if they have their setting on private. So I'm assuming maybe they don't want to be bothered. I don't know why they would put their tree on private. He went to Altoona Area High School, where he was a halfback on the varsity football team. And if you're anything like me, you don't know what a halfback is, so you have to look it up, but I looked it up real quick. It's an offensive position where their only duties are to line up the offensive backfield and to carry the ball on most of the rushing plays. I'll put a little diagram up so you know where it's at. Like, I don't watch football, so I don't know how easy it would be to see on a screen, like, where the players are at, and I don't know anybody that would be a halfback. I think they might. I it popped a running back popped up on the search engine too, so that might be another name for him. But I'll put a diagram up so you can see where they're at. They're usually positioned behind the quarterback a little bit. But he was also on the wrestling team, was a pole vaulter on the track team, and was the English class president during his senior year. He married Kathy Ann Bentley in 1963, and they had one daughter named Kimberly Lynn, who, from one newspaper clipping I found, states that she was only about 5 months old when Joseph died. Joseph would enlist in the Marines and be sent to Parris Island, South Carolina for training before going to the Army Parachute School at Fort Benning, Georgia, and then to the Navy Underwater Divers School in Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. Initially, he was stationed at Camp Lejeune in North Carolina before being transferred to Camp Pendleton. Before being sent to Vietnam, he was assigned to the 3rd Marine Division, 3rd Recon Battalion of the 1st Force Reconnaissance Company. While in Vietnam, he was with the Special Forces at Trebong and Bato from November 1965 to February 1966, where he distinguished himself several times. One incident was where the outpost that he was stationed at was attacked. He volunteered to man a 81mm mortar post suppressing the attacking Viet Cong. While on patrol on January 1966, his team was attacked again, and he rushed forward and gained an advantageous position and routed the enemy without losing a single man. He also volunteered to go to the aid of another post that was under heavy siege as well. In the end, it wasn't the Viet Cong that would be what killed Joseph, but an accident from a grenade going off while Joseph was at Thu Thien in South Vietnam on June 1st, 1966. His body was sent home and he was buried in Calvary Cemetery, where the military burial record states that he was buried in Section 13, Lot E, Block P, and he's grave number 1. In memory of Joseph, his former football teammate Bob McGill named his son after him, and his name is up on the Vietnam Veterans Memorial in Washington, D.C. on Panel 7E, line 131. He was awarded the Bronze Star with a V attachment, the Purple Heart, and the Vietnam Military Merit Medal for what he did in Vietnam. Joseph is, right now, he's the first soldier on my list that was married and had children. Most of the other ones, I talk about their mothers and fathers and no spouses because I couldn't find spouses. So Joseph is the first one that, from what I can tell, still has a living spouse and child. His wife might have gotten remarried. I don't know because they haven't gotten a hold of the wife to see where she's at. They want to give the family privacy, and if she doesn't want to be bothered and asked about her husband, then I'm not going to try to dig up where she's at now for people to harass her or her daughter. Her daughter would be, see, she was born about 66, around 65, late 65, 66, so their daughter would be almost 70 years old, no, 60 years old. So, and their daughter wouldn't have any memories of her father anyway, because she was born after he was sent overseas, so he never got to meet her. So she'd obviously have no memories of her father. I did find another list on Ancestry that somebody wrote down. It's a little book that they have on record. It has names starting from World War II of people in the Navy that they have recorded as dead that I have to put on my list. And some of those have their mother and father, their wives, or I've seen one that had the brother, their uncle, their grandparents. But I'm working on getting through that list so I could put it on my list for my videos. That way I don't keep talking about just people from my hometown. There's one, I'm not sure, I can't remember what his name is, but there's one on one of the wars that wasn't from my hometown, but he lived here when he served, and he was put on the list because he was from here when he lived here when he died. But I I just didn't want it to seem like I'm only talking about from my hometown because I wanted it to be about everybody because you don't really hear people talking a whole lot about soldiers that were killed in action or like some of the earlier ones that were killed during training accidents or something like that, unless it has to do with a major event like Pearl Harbor or the USS Indianapolis, which I know there's at least one soldier in the World War II on my list for my hometown that was on the USS Indianapolis that was killed. So I just didn't want it to seem like I was just being, I guess, self-centered, whatever. So yeah, as soon as I get those finished, I'll have them on my list and start changing up because you'll see people from like Alabama and Arkansas and stuff like that, and hopefully I can find from different wars too. I'm still digging into what all Ancestry has to offer. Right. Thanks. Bye.